Welcome back to Prepper Talk Radio. We're live across all of our social medias. Paris, Shane, and Scott here. Remember to make sure you go like and subscribe our YouTube channel. We've got a giveaway for a Jace Medical set of antibiotics for you, and it's a $250 value. Guys, this is huge. We're giving it away once we break 1,000 followers on our YouTube. We've got about 9,000 of you guys following us on our podcast. And for some reason, nobody's on our YouTube, so we want to get some of you guys over there as well. Share the love. Guys, this is a little different than our usual episode. This one's a little bit about what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to kind of not get political, but get like, hey, what's really going on?
Current events.
Talk about it from a prepper's perspective. Like, what's happening? How do we deal with it? To be honest, I'm really not worried. I see a lot of people going and freaking out today because, September 24th is coming. Whoa! So is the 23rd.
There's a lot to be said about that day, though. But
Christmas is coming. Like, there's been so many dates. Y2K. And a lot of people started prepping because of Y2K way back in the day. And if anything, I hope those dates are encouraging you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
If the world goes sideways tomorrow, overcome and adapt. Like that's the whole point of it all. That's the whole point of prepping and practicing and learning and following, in the footsteps of survivalists. Like, learn the skills.
I'm going to make sure to have that parachute on my back before I get pushed off the cliff, though.
Yeah, but what if the cliff is too short for the parachute to help?
Well, then I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to bounce back, right?
You're going to bounce off the bottom and Gumby, bounce back. There you go. But I think the point is like this episode, we're going to go a little bit different, and we're doing it live on one of our platforms. So like anyone that wants to participate and jump in, we're going to have your open line for communications. Want to hear what you guys have to say. But it's interesting because there's a lot of talk about the 24th. Even more because of what Germany recently said. The Prime Minister of Germany is like, as we're celebrating or as we're remembering September 24th, it'll go down in history. And then immediately after, they gave press releases saying, oh, no, he was talking about, what was it? February
March 24th.
March 24th. That's right.
When Russia officially invaded. Well, wasn't an invasion. So we won't call it an invasion.
It was a police action by a foreign dictator.
Right.
It's not what we think it is.
Just a special operation. It wasn't war or anything. So and I find that very interesting that he said that. And I don't believe that things are said by mistake or coincidence. I don't know that I believe any of that. So of course they say, well, it was just a mistake, but no, it could also have been a hint, a clue, something to coordinate, because that's one thing a lot of these, well, I hate using the word elites, do, is that's how they communicate, with their dates and with events and with what happened with the Queen's funeral and all. And I mean, that's it all coincides. I mean, she died supposedly on the 24th last month. So, I mean, there's a lot of ties in there. There's a lot of things that you should be aware, at least, right? Awake and aware.
And don't be in a fear mode. Don't be panicky. Don't be worried. That's why we prep so that we don't have the fear.
Mm-hmm.
We prep so that we're not worried about what's going on. Like when there's a run on certain products at the store, we have extras of those at home, so we don't have to worry about maybe something being gone for 6 months, not being available. Right.
But there is a reason that you do feel anxiety, right? People, they feel anxiety, then they want to take meds for it to get it to go away. No, you have, and I'm being very generalized here. We have anxiety for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm working, I forgot to do something, and it's very critical, and I get really anxious, and then I just go after that task and finish it and complete it, get it done, and my anxiety goes away because I'm going head first into that issue and not ignoring it, right? And so if I would say, if you're feeling some anxiety about something, do something about it, right? Like, man, I don't have enough food, or I don't have enough this or that, or this is a weak link in my chain, in my preps. how am I going to strengthen that? If you're feeling a little anxiety about it, go do something about it, you know?
Exactly.
Well, it's like anytime you think, oh no, I don't have enough food. What if something happens and I can't get this anymore? That's the exact time to go get some.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You put it on the list. When I go to the store tonight or tomorrow, I'll go get more.
And if you're not feeling anxiety, like a lot of people, like, no, it'll be fine. Next month, I'll be able to get what I need. And if you're not concerned, oh, well, you know, don't make a big deal of it. You know, just
we can't help you.
We will. Exactly.
Next month when you didn't get prepared this month, when you had the opportunity and the time to do it today.
That little thing gnawed away at you and told you to go do this or that because some anxiety was telling you to do that and you didn't, and you ignored it, or you took your Xanax or whatever you're taking and made that go away. Sorry, you know.
Yeah, if you stick your head in the sand, you still got the rest of your body sitting there and exposed to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to realize that we have these emotions. We've developed these emotions. God gave us these emotions so that we could use that as feedback to know that either one, something's wrong. Stop, think, and wait a minute. I'm having fear. I'm having anxiety. I'm having stress because I need to engage other things to overcome an obstacle that's in front of me. Or maybe I need to stop and think about why I'm feeling those things, and I should probably discontinue this. If I'm moving along a path and I'm feeling these anxieties, that's an indication often that maybe it's the wrong path, and you can go choose a different path to keep you guys safe. So I think there's a lot to be said with those emotions and have those emotions available to us, and there's. The scriptures say, if you are prepared, you will not fear. And there's a lot that goes into that. And one of the things, of course, is having the preparations that we're talking about. And that's skill sets. Like I always say this, we have enough time. We have time to prepare, but we don't have time to waste. And people say, well, what if we don't have time to prepare? Well, I would rather be in the process of preparing and only have gotten 50% down the road than to be stuck at 0%. Still thinking that I just don't have time. I won't do any, giving up. Like I would rather be, if my goal is to be 100% prepared, I would rather miss that at 75% prepared than at 20% prepared. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's like you're going to make mistakes too. As you're prepping, as you're practicing, as you're doing things, you're going to make mistakes. And so like start now so you can get those mistakes out of the way sooner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like one of the big mistakes is not starting now. And so that's why I say that, because it's like, if you had the feeling to do this months ago, years ago, you should have done it. So do you have time and resources now? Go get it done.
Yeah, the next best time is right now.
Yeah.
Always, again, the saying about planting a tree. Best time was 20 years ago. Next best time is right now.
I've been thinking of that a lot lately as I see, the Vatican's like, oh, everybody, we want all our money back by the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, I should have had my money out in fruit trees years ago. I should have got more. I've seen fruit trees everywhere just full of apples and peaches and nectarines. And I'm like, man, I wasted so much time not putting those trees in that I could have been enjoying those. And like 5 years into owning a tree, like at that point, the volume of food you're getting off those things is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think sometimes you think you're living at some particular place. You think, oh, we're not going to be here that long. We're going to move. So I'm not going to plant any trees. It's just going to be a waste because we'll move and we won't ever see the fruit of those trees. But I think that attitude is absolutely wrong. Wherever you go, that's where you're going to be for, who knows what happens, who knows what might happen where you're there, even though your plans may be that you're going to be gone in a couple of years.
And that goes to a saying that I've heard a lot of times. I'm probably going to kill it, but in essence, it says a wise man plants a tree knowing that he will never be able to rest in its shade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's because the world is going to go on with or without us. It's going to keep going on until Christ comes again, and then we'll move on to another, way of living and being. But I want to kind of stay a little bit on this news about the Vatican, bringing all this money in, and So financially, of course, I'm a financial guy. And by the way, I'm pretty excited because my financial channel just got monetized. So thank you very much for
Awesome.
everybody, anybody that ever
Congratulations.
went over there and watched and listened, subscribe to my financial channel. But I'm watching, money, and I'm actually going to do a video on this actually on my financial channel and what's going on with this. And the reality is that when you have an organization like the Catholic Church or any organization like the Vatican, which is, by the way, it's a kingdom, it's legally a kingdom.
Mhm.
When you have a whole kingdom that is making moves financially like this, at the same time, you have a bunch of conspiracy, quote unquote, and people talking about how there's going to be an economic collapse, an economic problems, that the stock market is overinflated. We're having a huge housing bubble, a huge stock market bubble, huge cryptocurrency bubbles. And one of the other articles I wanted to share today was this whole thing about what CBDs, whatever.
CBDCs.
Yeah, those ones, because Biden just came out with the whole thing about that recently.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that we can't sit back and just think everything's great and everything's wonderful and normal anymore. We've got to, regardless of, I know you're good people. Whoever's listening to this, you're probably good people. You don't understand how evil people think or how the wicked are thinking. And I applaud you for that. But at some level, we have to, be aware and say, wait a minute, there's bad people out there that are conspiring to do bad things to the rest of us. And if we don't do something about it, if we don't wake up to it, we're going to get potentially taken out in the aftermath. We're going to be collateral damage. And I'm one of those guys that's like, look, I may end up being collateral damage, but I'm going to fight so hard that they're going to have to really do a lot to make me collateral damage. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand, hey, if this is happening, what are you doing with your money? What are you doing? If you're listening to this episode today and you're like, okay, am I out of debt? Have I done my budget recently? Do I know how much money's coming in? How much money's going out? Have I managed, just my money sitting in commercial banks? Do I have any money? Like just this last week, my wife and I actually bought our generator, and it was interesting. I know that Shane, you've been kind of teasing me and saying, get on it. And you actually, pulled the trigger for, because I've been talking about it for a long time.
We're both very proud of you.
I finally did it. And, when I walked by it in the garage the day after I bought it, I had this feeling of comfort and peace. I was like, you know what? I have that. And my wife's like, I don't know if we can afford it. I'm like, babe, I would rather have my money sitting in my garage as a generator than sitting in a bank account earning 0.1% or something ridiculous.
And losing to inflation as well, right?
Exactly. So
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to finish with when people like the Vatican do things like this, it's time for all of us to wake up and check our own financial situation, our own financial house, and see what's going on. So
yeah, I think I'm smiling most of the time, aren't I?
Well, I'm just serious. I'm not angry.
Scott's very serious. Scott's very serious.
I just have resting serious face. I just always like people are like, what's wrong? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Nothing's wrong.
I'm happy.
Well, hey, I was gonna say, Paris. One thing that's been seared into my brain is calling currency, and money, right? Mm-hmm. Understanding the difference between the two. Yes, they're kind of interchangeable because that's what people understand, that our dollars are money, our dollars are currency. They're not actually money. Gold and silver is money. And so that is, something when I listen to people making commentaries, they're calling currency money, and it's not. And so I think if we straighten out that vocabulary in our brain, we can better understand the meaning of a lot of these things we're talking about. But talking about the same thing you were getting to Paris about the Vatican bringing back their currency, and they're probably bringing their money back too. I wouldn't doubt they've got gold and silver too. All their assets, paper assets, assets.
All their liquid assets are being ordered to come back to the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just they're saying holdings. So it's like it's more than, I think. Are they liquidating stocks? Like, what are they doing? Like, we don't see the full picture.
You'd think they would have to in order to bring things back into their bank. But yeah. I was also going to comment. I've seen a lot of people commenting on trying to get money, currency, cash out of their banks, and not being able to get it, or getting less than they had asked for or wanted, and having to place orders for cash to get it out, and being questioned and grilled about, well, why do you want this? What do you want the cash for? And that sounds like that's getting harder and harder to get cash out of banks. And it could be for a lot of reasons. They don't carry
currency at the bank anymore.
They don't carry, nearly as much. I mean, all their dollars go back to the Federal Reserve to earn to earn interest
interest.
from being stored there, and they're not required to have a reserve of cash on hand. More than 10%, I think is most that they're going to have, but they're not required to have any, other than just to take care of their customers, right?
I saw an
4
article
years
recently.
ago,
Oh,
I went into the bank and I said, "Hey, I need to pull out $5,000." They're like, "Okay, when do you want to come get it?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I want to get it now." Like, "Oh, no, you've got to request it at least 3 days in advance." And I'm like,
wow.
"What?" And now, if I do 5,000, it's 5 days in advance.
Well, see, I've never had that experience. The past couple of years, I don't like keeping any cash in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I keep what's necessary in there, and I take the rest out and put it into gold or silver or cash or whatever and other assets. But I don't keep it in the bank, and I've never had that issue before. Which I hear it all the time, but in my banks, I've never had that issue. I just walk, hey, I want 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 cash. They just
I don't know
no questions. They just give
I
it
don't
to
remember
themselves.
what
I haven't
country it was.
experienced that myself.
I saw an article recently. I don't remember what country it was, but it was like somewhere in the Middle East, maybe, or somewhere in South America. But this lady went in to go get money out of the bank, and they said, "No, we don't have it," because there were some restrictions. They actually froze bank accounts or something, and she ended up coming back and basically robbing the bank just to get her money.
Yeah,
and she held hostages and everything. And I was like, "Wow, man,
She said, give me my money out of the bank. Give me my currency out of the bank." And she
and we're not, and that's kind of the stuff you'd read at like some whacked out country, area,
definitely
but
third world country. Yeah,
but it could come if it's happening there. You're just like, wow, at least it's giving us a notification that, hey, we need to be prepared for certain things. If that's the case,
add that to okay, so they're taking their money, the Vatican is. Add that to the CDBCs, add that to BRICS being created, and Russia's like, we want gold. We want to use gold. We want to use real money. And everyone else over there is like, cool, we're in. And it's messing up everybody else's economies, right? Because all the other world economy is built on fake money that doesn't really exist. It's currencies that are backed by the force of the United States government. That's it. And so it's really, diminishing greatly. Like it's just fantastic from my perspective to see the chaos in the financial markets at a time where I'm probably the poorest I've ever been. It's kind of fantastic to not have to worry about, is my 401k going to be there in a year? Because my 401k is my food and my fuel storage and all the other things I've done to prep.
And it will be there.
And that will be there as long as I manage it well. And
and I was going to say, and we look over to Europe and what's happening in Europe, and I don't have any specific news stories. Maybe you guys do, but German. Well, I guess one particular German, their CPI came out at 45%. Or 45%, not consumer price inflation, the manufacturer's price inflation.
Wow,
is 45%, and that's their official number. Who knows what the real number is? But that's going to come here. I mean, it hits Europe first, and then it's going to come here.
Well, and Germany's even doing another wave of restrictions. If you're not vaccinated, you can't move freely, and you can't go shopping. What? And they're starving their people.
And they're still shutting down their power plants, their nuclear power plants to go green, and they're still making. It's lunacy.
The energy crisis that's going over there is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Not being able to get natural gas from Russia. They're going to have a really hard winter, and we're very fortunate right now. I mean, we're exporting a lot of our natural gas over to them because they need it, which is just going to increase our prices here and our availability of energy here. So. That's one of the definitely the hot buttons out there is energy in Europe. If you guys are if you're listening to us, you're probably aware of what's going on out there, right? At least hopefully you are. It's everywhere.
Well, and like you stack that onto what else is going on in the world. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the number of earthquakes going on right now. Like,
I have.
Yesterday we had the one 7.6 in Mexico, right off the coast. 2 dead so far. Thousands and thousands. I think it's like more than 30,000 people without power, going on day 2 of no power. So looking and seeing what's going on over there, okay, it doesn't take much to disrupt our life. A 7.6 there, like here in Utah, we just had the rumblings from an Arizona earthquake, just Arizona City earthquake recently.
Mhm.
Felt all over the southern part of the state. Like those types of things have effects. And like if a grid portion of the grid goes down here because of an earthquake, that's going to affect multiple states.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to disrupt supply chains. Everything that happens, there's a cause and effect, and there's a ripple of effect that it can affect everybody.
Because everything is tied together. The banks are all tied together. The economies are all tied together, and it will be a ripple effect everywhere. Absolutely.
And the more you can unplug from that, the more resilient you're going to be.
Yeah, that's one thing we need to talk about is really solutions. And we have all these issues, and then we need to share what we're doing to protect from that. Absolutely. So, and we've already talked about it a little bit briefly. Is that for me, for these issues, is the best solution for me is to become my own bank, right?
Yeah.
And how do I become my own bank? No, I can't formally start a bank, and that's not what I mean. I have complete control of all my finances, other than the limited amount that I keep in the banking system, because ultimately, I'm an unsecured creditor to the banks. Whatever cash I have, whatever deposits I have in the bank, they only owe me shares or in the bank if they lose that currency. So I take charge of that and take it out of the banks, because my paycheck goes into the bank, just like directly in the bank, like pretty much everybody else.
Right.
And I am a little concerned about this next paycheck after the 24th, that I'll be able to get my cash out of the bank with all these rumblings that are going on. But that's still my plan, and then turn that into something tangible, something physical. And you guys know that I like gold and silver to store value, and so that's how I'm my own bank. And if I need dollars, then I can take some of that and go exchange it for some dollars and pay some bills or whatever I got to do. But that's my savings.
Well, then there's also other goods, right? Other goods you have, skills you have. You can trade, you can barter and trade things. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that I think we're going to see a lot more as the financial crisis increases, right? Skilled labor is going to get more valuable, because people are going to be like, hey, I need this fixed. I can do that. I'll charge you for it. Well, why are you charging me so much money for 30 minutes of your time? Because it took me 15 years to learn that and do it. So if you want to do it yourself, go ahead. It'll take you 15 years to figure it out. And it'll cost you a lot more money than what it just cost me to do. You're paying for my knowledge and my experience, not for the minutes. And that's one of the things I think we're going to see a lot more, like, especially those who are growing gardens and have orchards, and have things stored up that they can use to trade. Like I have specifically stored up things for trade. The 3 Bs, bullets, beans, and band-aids, those are great to have as barter items as well. But it all goes back to being your own bank, that philosophy, skills, resources. I think they're going to be equally valuable for a time. And right now they're not, which is funny. Like skills aren't valued. Real tangible skills aren't valued the way they should be, especially here in Utah.
Self-reliant skills.
Yeah. It's funny. Like everybody here is so, hey, we're all taken care of by our wonderful state. All is well here. Yay. And it's not. It's really not. It's everything is a house of cards. It's just like one little thing's going to knock it out.
Yeah.
And then the more you get okay with that, like as you watch the news, as you see what's going on with the disasters, with the economy, like the more you get okay with that, the less freaked out, the less anxiety, the less stress you're going to have in life.
And the less that these events have any effect on you whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like what happened today. The Fed raised interest rates 75 basis points, 0.75%. And in the long term, that's not much. I mean, my first mortgage, I mortgaged on this house, we were at like 3.75%, 3.8%, something like that. And that was a decent rate at the time, back in late 2000s. Of course, we refinanced to much lower rates, but now we're back up in the 6s, unless you're paying points and you get down in the 5s.
Right.
And so
It's crazy,
there's
though.
probably going to be more rate hikes in the future too, to try and get this inflation under control. I think it's still going to be a long time. So if I've got these, if I'm my own bank and I've got these things under control, I mean, this means nothing to me. 75 basis points means nothing to me because I have no credit cards. I've got my mortgages, fixed rate mortgages, not an ARM. Same with vehicle loans or whatever. So this doesn't really mean much to me, other than, well, maybe I'll earn some more interest in my savings account in the bank, whatever currency I have in there. Maybe, haven't seen it yet, but it really doesn't mean a lot to me in the long run.
I think a lot of this stuff, once people start to see things actually happen, I mean, one of the part of me is saying we'll be vindicated. Yes, finally, people will believe that we weren't as crazy as we've been trying to say. That once the things start to kind of deteriorate and degenerate even further than they are. And I was reading another article that came across my page here is that more than 40% of Americans think civil war is likely within a decade, and that was according to a new survey that they had that had come out. And, with Biden recently coming, I mean, I just don't appreciate, regardless of where you stand politically, when he came out with this red ominous background and started making these threats against the MAGA people. I don't necessarily agree with all of these extreme things on either side of it. But the point is that his rhetoric was quite inciting, actually. And so it's like I'm like, I listened to some of that. I'm like, you're actually kind of being the very person you're proclaiming to be fighting against, and what the MAGA people are doing. And I believe in being prepared and being ready for things. And so when I read this, I was like, well, the first thing that I said was, okay, it's within a decade. So, okay, I got a couple years. Okay, I can prepare, I can go. And one of the things that I'm doing to prepare, and here's the idea, is I may not be a combat vet ready to go into a, hand-to-hand combat situation, but I started taking a martial arts course. It's something that I've always wanted to learn how to do, self-defense. And I may not be like the next Navy SEAL, but I've started to do, I signed up for a course to learn how to use my pew sticks, my Second Amendment rights, to be able to train and get a little more better at that. So if I start now doing something, it's going to be better than if I had not done anything.
Yeah.
And so find those skills. And another thing that I just went, I know I called you both actually the other day. I said, my fruit trees in my yard are looking like they're ready to be picked. When should I actually prune these things? And so now I'm also learning how to be.
You're not pruning them.
Sorry, harvesting. You're right. See, I'm learning. I got to learn the right words even for what
this branch has 10 good things. Next year's going to be great.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I should have harvested it, not pruned it. Dang it. So
I got my tree down, guys. I got everything off of it.
So what can you do? What can you do today if there's a civil war that's likely within a decade? Well, you can start preparing by having food, being ready. One of the reasons why there will be a civil war is because of panic and because of stress and because of fear that nobody will, like, if you literally take away someone's food, I don't care how Christian you are today. If you look at a mom with a starving baby, that mom's just turned into a Wolverine. Like, that mom just turned into a dangerous. Yeah. You don't want to mess around with that. So that's what I'm saying, is that you got to be, if you have food storage, if you get these communities together, if we start today, we're going to have a situation where even if other people decide to go into a civil war, we can say, we're not going to engage at this point because we don't need to. And you won't have that fear. You won't have that, because you'll be ready. You'll be prepared. You'll be calm. You'll be temperate. You won't be freaked out and need to even go into a step. If anything, you'll be defending yourself. And so self-defense is something I think that's really important for us to learn and develop. And that's one of the things that I've been looking at.
No doubt.
Awesome.
And I think, part of going on that civil war type of thought there is that what can really, like you're saying, is what happens to a mother when she doesn't have food to feed her baby. She turns into mama bear, right? So we can see all over the world crop failures. I just saw an article about Syria, and I hadn't heard anything about Syria, that their wheat harvest is only 25% of what it should be. It's down 75%. Wow. And maybe Syria doesn't affect us, and we don't get anything from Syria. We get our wheat. We grow a lot of wheat here in the U.S., and so does Russia, and I think India does as well. But what's happening? Brazil has a record low coffee harvest. France, their corn is lowest in 30 years. Everything is piling up to where maybe it won't affect us directly, but it will affect us indirectly. In that, okay, if we need to import rice, which we grow a lot of rice here in the U.S. as well, but our rice crops have been pretty crappy this year too, from what I hear in California. So it's just all piling up.
A lot of people gardening are complaining about how poor their harvest is this year. Right.
Wow.
It's been harder to garden this year, harder because there's the droughts. We've also seen lower rates of germination of seeds. So it's like there's all these different factors. It's like, okay, do something. Like everybody needs to be doing something to try to be more resilient. So if you can plant that tree, if you can get that garden growing and learn in the rough years, it'll make you more resilient in the future, right? Learn how to harvest seeds from the ones that did grow, that did germinate, because that's what's going to give you a better chance in the future. There's so many things. It's like the hardest thing is if you don't do anything. If the things you see on the news frighten you and you don't do anything, that's the hardest thing, because you're choosing a harder future. You're choosing a worse outcome. If you take the time now and start practicing self-defense things, go get a trainer, go get a prepper coach. Like any one of us would be happy to be that for you. You can pay us $100 a month or whatever. I don't know. Like get someone that's smarter than you that you can go get one-on-one time with to help you get better prepared, right? To help you get prioritized on things, because there's a lot you can screw up on. The biggest mistake is putting it off. Choose your hard. You can do something hard now, or you can do something harder later. And I think that's everything you guys have pointed out with the finances, with bricks, with self-defense, like everything. It's harder if you hold off. The future is worse if you don't do something now.
Yeah. And for me, what I'm doing in that realm is, you guys know I've got some property and got a greenhouse I'm going to be putting up over the winter, so that I've been working the soils in one particular area, so by next spring it'll be ready to plant. And I know a lot of people are saying you should be planting right now, it should be growing right now. Okay, yeah, I'm guilty. I just don't have the ability right now myself, and so I wouldn't feel bad, but make the decision right now to say, okay, next spring I'm going to take the winter to get ready so that I can start planting in spring. I'm going to till some soil up before it freezes, and try and get that soil ready, and or dig up some grass or whatever you got to do to get some plants going in spring. And so, I've got enough food storage that'll carry me if something were to happen now, that I could get through the spring and beyond to get my crops growing. But if you don't take that timeline into account, maybe you'll run out of food before you can get some crops in the ground and growing. So just take some steps now.
I think what it is like you're focusing time on fixing things for the future already, right? You're actually working on your plan. I'm thinking of things like, for me personally, it's like I've taken all these training courses, but what I really want to do is getting more engineering minded trainings, understanding electrical better, understanding solar better, and building a lot of my own solutions. Because to be honest, if you build your own solutions, you're going to know it better.
And if it breaks, you know how to fix it.
Right. Yeah. And so I want to learn those things now, so that in the future, when there's no one to call and be like, hey, can you come fix this? I can fix it.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we see a lot in the news is just insecurity in electricity in particular. Because we use natural gas to generate electricity. We use coal to generate electricity. And so how do I become more self-sufficient that way? And so what I'm going to be doing over the winter is, just like you were saying, I'm going to build my own solar power system, just a kind of a portable, rather than buying one of the larger ones like you and I were talking about, Paris. Just larger single units. Going to buy the individual components and build it myself. Not that that's terribly hard to do, but you can customize it. You can and you can replace components if something breaks. You can fix it yourself and replace it yourself. So that's one of the things I'm doing over the winter is going to build the something a little more robust than just a,
Yeah.
500-watt Yeti,
Yeah.
500 amp
Good
hour
point.
Yeti. So
Well, it's interesting because you can if you want to get like a 3,000 kilowatt hour solution, you can go buy something, and it's going to cost you half as much to build it yourself, and you're going to learn twice as much doing it. Right. And if you've got time right now and you're spending time Netflixing and chilling, you're the person I'm talking to go do something beneficial instead. Like I've pretty much sworn off most streaming services. I'm trying to spend more time reading. I'm trying to spend more time learning. I'm trying to spend more time doing. And I'm spending a lot more time getting physically fit than I have spent in the last few years. It's fantastic. Like for example, Field Tac Self-Reliance is commenting, most self-defense instructors, it's garbage, right? Most of it doesn't actually do anything. And it gives you a false sense of understanding. So it's like, who are you learning from, and what are you learning, and why are you learning it, right? I think more
Make sure they're
importantly
experts.
setting up the right home defense from someone who's been in those situations, learning from experts that have actually done those things. He just says threat neutralization is what should be number one on your list. Exactly.
Mhm.
Like eliminate the threat before it happens.
Yep.
Put yourself in a space that is fortified or safe or away from harm, away from danger. I don't live in the big city. I live in a smaller city now, outside of the big city, but I moved to get to a better, safer place that's easier to fortify, easier to defend. And I think all things preparedness, you can do that, build fortifications of all things, fortifications of food, fortifications of self-defense, or security is the right word, not self-defense, fortifications of water. Like, do you have 3 other sources of water around you? Most people don't.
Yeah.
Or they do, and they don't know what it is or where it is. Like one of mine's dried up right now. It's not going to start producing water again until runoff, which is going to be February, April, a little bit in February, but April, May. And then there's going to be tons of water. So do I have enough water to last me till then in the meantime?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I
learn and do.
Another thing that's real in our world today, and it's not in a third world country, is just in a couple states over, where I moved from along the West Coast, we have this state that's doing rolling brownouts. There's this funny meme going around. It's like, what's the difference between the Titanic and California? Mm-hmm. And the answer is the Titanic had the lights on. So, I mean, if you live in California, if you live in California and you don't have some kind of generator or some kind of power source, whether it's solar or whether it's gas or propane, you've got to have some way to keep things going, or whether it's a big hamster wheel in your garage, which was another funny meme that I saw. But the reality is it's happening right now. It's not something that's something we should could potentially be. It's something that's literally happening right now, and it's important to be prepared and be ready ahead of time. And if you haven't gotten ready yet, I promise you, let's say that, well, I wasn't ready for the last one. Shoot, I'm too late. No, go get ready now, because I promise you there's going to be a next one. There's going to be another one, whatever it is, whatever tragedy, whatever crisis, whatever threat, whatever things there's going to be another one, whether it's a health crisis, whether it's a job loss, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's actually something happening with the state or that you live in, whatever it is, there's going to be another threat to your peace, happiness, joy, homeostasis, whatever. And you've got to be ready and prepared for it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we got to be ready. And the news, you literally just open up Yahoo News, Google News, whatever, you'll see headline after headline after headline. Crisis in the BRICS nations are trying to control the world. And this guy's trying to control the world over there. And it's like, okay, well, I just want to live my life and be normal. Well, unfortunately, regular people can't do that anymore when you've got people that are trying to tyrants out there trying to rule the world and control you. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to defend. At some level, we have to be fortified, and then we have to defend ourselves against the tyranny that's coming and that's happening. And that's in the scriptures. And so it's just something that we need to be ready for and aware of.
Absolutely. You guys got any more things you wanted to bring up? I've got a few others here, but
Yeah, please go ahead.
well, I was just a few things that stood out to me today. I saw an article on Zero Hedge that nobody has traded the Japanese 10-year government bond for 2 days. No bids on Japanese 10-year bonds for 2 days. That hasn't happened for 20, 30 years, something like that. And as we know, the Fed increased rates, 0.75%, 75 basis points today. So it makes the dollar stronger. And then Japan's doing the opposite. They're going more negative. They're decreasing rates. So the world is wacky. It is wacky. And I guess the thing that I want to point out is that this is not normal. This is, and I think we get a normalcy bias is the word I was looking for, is we see these things all so often sometimes that they seem like they're normal. Like, oh, this is, no big deal. But they are, a lot of these things are big deals. And that's why we bring them up, so that we don't become complacent and think that, oh, all is well, right? There's that saying again, right? All is well.
Mm-hmm.
But then also part of Powell's speech today, he said that there's a big economic slowdown coming in the U.S. economy, and big inflation, big and unemployment. So that was a pretty big warning to me for him to say those types of things. Just
and then
today. It's not normal.
At the Kentucky Federal Reserve, I think it was in Kentucky, the Federal Reserve meeting they had a couple weeks ago, there was like, by any means necessary, we're going to reduce inflation. And you're like, when the Federal Reserve Chair talks about any means necessary,
that's
starts to get a little, okay, guys, wake up.
Exactly.
So this goes back to news sources, right? There's all this news that we're talking about right now, things that we're watching, things that we're seeing. There are 3 channels that I think everyone needs to subscribe to. And you guys may agree with me, you may not, but I'm going to give them to you right now, here, live, on air, I guess you'd say, or on digital. Number 1, the Book of Revelation. Number 2, the Book of Isaiah. And number 3, the Book of Daniel. Those are the 3 news channels you need to be reading those papers every day. Subscribe, like, and follow those books, because those are the things that you really need to be paying attention to.
Seriously.
Whether you agree with me or not, that's I'm planting that flag in the ground right here. I'm drawing that line. Those are the 3 best news channels, because guess what? They're 100% right so far.
Mm-hmm.
None of the other news sources are.
Can't claim that at all. No.
So pay attention, though, guys. I think that's kind of where we want to wrap up from today. Pay attention to what's going on in the world. Don't let it suck you in. Don't let it destroy what you have. Build off of what you have. Improve your resilience. Set up your fortifications. Focus on the things that you can do that maybe no one else around you knows how to do, and improve those. And then add to those and fix the things that are broken in your personal life now. Choose your hard now. Do hard things now, because tomorrow or in 3 months or a year, when the harder things come, it's going to destroy you if you don't start building those muscles of preparedness today. Self-reliance, security, water storage, water filtration, hygiene, food storage, ways to grow new food, power if you need it, solutions. Find those things now, put them into play now, and stay ready-minded. Stay alert. Don't freak out. Just stay alert. And you will have a better quality of life. And I can tell you that because that is how my life quality has improved. Being aware, but not afraid. Because good things are still on the horizon. That's it. That's what you need to focus on, is the good things that are coming. It's going to be horrible for bad people. It's going to be horrible for a lot of people, but it's also going to be really good. And there's going to be a lot of miracles and amazing things that happen in the near future. And those are the things you need to be looking for and appreciate and participate in, because that is where there's going to be joy. And with that, I'll leave you on this episode. Thank you, everyone that's participated. Thank you, Utah Mike, Field Tax, Self-Reliance. Thank you, Paris and Shane, for being here. Appreciate you guys. And don't forget to subscribe to the page. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Get in our Facebook group. And you can be entered to win our random drawing will be as soon as we break 1,000 followers on YouTube to win a Jace case, the personal antibiotics kit. So when the crap does hit the fan, when the feces hitteth the fan, so to speak, the oscillator, you will have something when nobody else can get something, and you'll be able to take care of those antibiotic needs. Until next time, stay ready, stay ready-minded, and focus on the good stuff. See you next time.
See you.
Take care.